Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome to part 2 of our video series on the color blue-green. We're going to look at some more choices of the color, some more versions for the 12 seasons, and we're going to look at more ways of working with your color palette to improve your confidence in your color decisions, whichever season you are or whatever color it is that you happen to be looking at. Pictures today were made in your style. Links will be in the description box. For shopping information, you will find a blog post on my website in a couple of weeks. Also link in the description box. And I'm going to put parts 1 and 2 together because we're going to be referring back to some items that we saw in part 1. In part 1, we began by comparing 4 seasons, true summer to true autumn, with the soft seasons in between, soft summer, soft autumn. We practiced thinking of the group of items above the line as a strip in your palette with the most similar colors. And thinking about, with the item that we're thinking of purchasing, the ones below the line, could we slide that up into the group? No problem, nobody would even notice the difference. Same exercise here, but we're looking at true spring to true summer with the light seasons in between. We're going to add a second question, which is from our 5-question list for choosing colors that we saw in part 1. Question 3 being, do all the colors in the same strip work? So you've matched one color and you think, oh, this looks pretty good. They look like the same color. Don't stop there. Now we're going to look at all the colors in the strip. So here, let's look at the main groups first. True spring, warm season, blue tends to be greener. In light spring, well, now summer is arriving, so blue looks blue as the colors get cooler with many aqua and turquoise blue greens. Similar colors in light summer, not as bright as light spring, less pigment. Light spring has this fresh quality, or it can look creamy or milky sometimes, and I can often recognize that in fabric, whereas light summer always looks to me more recognizable as a summer color. It has this watercolor quality, and light summer also has a darker ceiling overall than light spring. Then true spring cools down, true summer, sorry. It's like having 12 children. You get their names mixed up. True summer cools down another step. It also softens. And it also darkens the overall group of colors. You're always comparing 3 dimensions of color, even between neighboring seasons, that like we saw on our season map in part 1. A couple of items have been duplicated here. You see a green zip puffer vest in light summer and true summer. Do you have any preference? Which group? Big picture shopping, I could see either one. Might be a little brighter, more color coming through in true summer, meaning it will look softer in light summer. It might be just because the items around it are brighter, or it is softer and it would look a little bit faded or grayish worn by a light summer colored person. Over in true summer, well, there's that light colored soft shoulder blouse. We saw it in the very first image back in video 1, panel 1 for soft summer, and I thought it was somehow light or bright. It was stepping apart from the season. What do you think about it here? Move your eye up and down through the group. Feels a little smoother to me, more comfortable as part of the group without being more or less. So now let's look at the items below the line. The tie front top in true spring. First impression might be okay, at least worth keep looking at. You'd find a color like that in a true spring palette. I try it with the other items one at a time. Well, now I'm not so sure. The hat, the dress, the cami, I mean, it's inside the light to dark range for true spring, the top is. Well, what's not feeling right? First impression again, the light is coming out of it the wrong way for the rest of the group. It's pulling light inwards, whereas the others seem to be sending light out. It's like they're there on a sunnier day, then the top is the different kind of daylight outside. It's also very dark in the folds. Spring, summer usually stay about the same darkness between the highlight and the main color and down in the folds, which expresses the persons and therefore the seasons, light to dark range being narrower. The lace blouse, the lower item in the True Spring group, just above the line, feels better for me. It's dark, but it feels more consistent with the other items. So decision for me on the tie front top is you don't need to know what season it is. You need to know if you're putting money down and taking it home. I would not buy it as a True Spring. Next, over in Light Spring, good. I could see them with the racerback top, could see them under the hat, could see them with the turtleneck. It just seemed fine. I have no stone in my shoe at all, and the reaction was immediate. Good with the choice of gold in those earrings as well. And then we come to Light Summer, the tunic below the line. I moved it down away from the group so you have like a little, buffer zone. Is either one better to you? Because you can see it again in True Summer in the main group. So I go through Light Summer one at a time. I think it looks a little dark for the palette. And those single items, it's not bright enough. It's too soft. It doesn't have enough pigment. I can see it in True Summer, though, with a much quicker and more positive connection. Then we come to the items below the line in True Summer. There were two. Scoop neck t-shirt. I don't think so. It's soft for this group, meaning grayish. It's more velvety than watercolor. How about the bag? The material has a thick weight or an opaque quality, but is it the textile that's giving it that density, or is it the actual color? Leather, I think, always has a heavier quality next to cottons or lightweight knits, but the color could fit into the group. And I also think it's a little bit soft to fit into the Light Summer group. Here we are with a new simulation of placing the palette strips directly on items that we're considering buying. So you can place the fully opened palette or harmony strips. You can buy full palettes with a good selection of colors from all 12 seasons. Handiest thing ever. And so that's useful. You will buy those from NDU Colors, I think, link in the description box. My trainer, Terry Wildfong of NDU Colors and also Your Natural Design, was the first person that I ever saw physically place the palette fan wide open on the fabric. We were in a fabric store building a draping set and we were stuck on a color, and I think out of frustration she just opened the thing and landed it right on the fabric. And this Jack and the Beanstalk world of understanding came from that moment. It just grew and grew. So links for Terry and the companies that she's affiliated with in the description box. So we have this color we want to buy. We have a True Summer and a Light Summer palette. We think we're a light summer, or we know we're a light summer. And we find a color similar to the sweater in both seasons. So now we got to decide. We separate out the two strips with the most similar color and we're going to lay them right on the fabric. So the little items on the side are standing in for the strip with the most similar color and off the fabric so that you can see the energy of the colors without interaction with the sweater. Normally I would lay them one at a time, up and down. It's in that 3 seconds when they switch that it's almost like your subconscious chooses one. Part of the journey is bringing what your subconscious knows up into the conscious so that you can access it and use it. Kind of like a lot of life is that way, or life decisions. And so your season palette, that's the colors in you. And however something looks on the hanger or on the shelf just doesn't matter. Like the hat, a person of the same coloring as that hat, True Summer, wearing the sweater looks like this. What happens? You can't guess your way to it. You just got to make it happen and then look. First impression of those 6 smaller items on the sweater, none of them is maintaining their color energy. They are fading into it. They are becoming hard to see. It's like the colors coming up around them. The person, I think of it as you couldn't keep the color under your face. It's like you'd be wearing it up to here. And so the viewer is distracted by the brightness of the clothing. And I think the True Summer or Light Summer person could be overwhelmed by the color of the sweater. Light Summer colors are more visible, but they're still hard to make out. We want our clothing to define us so that people can meet us and see us better rather than experiencing a tug of war for their attention between us and what we're wearing. As the colors get darker, they're easier to see. right? I think less sinking into the sweater. But the idea is not to only see the dark colors. If you've ever said or thought, well, I'm a light summer, but I can only wear the dark colors of my season, you might be looking for yourself in the wrong palette. And yes, all of you, every color in you is one season. Different people wear it differently, but that is always the source palette. And so people might say, well, my eyes pop when I wear dark colors. Again, the idea, if it takes darkness, let's put it this way, if it takes darkness for your eyes to gain pigment, there might be something not quite right. And the person too, if the person has more presence just because of darkness, possibly need to revisit the color decision. You should have the same presence and your eyes should have the same brightness in all your palette colors. But for sure, when you wear a color that is basically an exact match or repeat for your eye colors, the viewer will make a strong connection between the two. So far, what do we know with this sweater? Light summer's better than true summer. Maybe the sweater's brighter than both of them. So that means it would have more spring in it. I would not buy it if I belonged with either of these two summer groups. And we're going to see the sweater again later. In this picture, we're back to 4 seasons, the true autumn to true winter corner of the map or quadrant with the dark seasons in between. And we have a lot of duplications, meaning items you're going to see in a couple of places. And so every group is a bit jumbled up and we're not going to practice, can you slide the item below the line up into the group above? We're talking about lipstick. We could talk about lipstick all afternoon. Let's talk about the items across the top, the larger groups first. In True Autumn, the V-neck sweater. That's a really nice example of a greener blue-green. It's worth visiting your style just to enlarge that image. The tie front top, well, we saw that below the line back with True Spring. Where the first impressions are useful, I'd say, is it kind of bright though? It's like I try to look at it with the top above it or the scarf at the bottom of this group, and it seems apart or separate or too bright. And if I stare at the whole image, like all 4 panels, and relax my eyes, I kind of want to move it over, move it to the right, you know, go over closer to the winters. It's still really dark in the folds. Maybe just the contrast in the photograph. But as a true autumn, just based on these images, I would not buy that item. The third item, scoop neck t-shirt from picture number 5, first one of today's video, where it seemed a little velvety for true summer. Do you remember that one? Better fit here, more belonging, but it's soft. It's grayer than the others. My guess would be soft autumn for that guy. The dark wrap blouse, good. Brightness and darkness limit for true autumn, I think. The cami to the left is too pigmented. You sense too much black or blue or both in that relative to all the other items. Maybe better in a winter influenced group. Dark autumn, dark winter. The scarf next, and you see it over again in dark autumn. I'd be fine with this for true autumn. It's a great textile, not detracting from the other colors. Shares enough to work fine. I could even imagine it near the face and it would look nice and interesting. Now we're at dark autumn. The hat from panel 4 part 1 video, where we had the warm and the cool reds and we were comparing with the soft season. We said, well, it's not too warm or cool for soft autumn. It does look autumn, but it's too bright, it's too pigmented. Well, here it looks fine. Dark autumn probably could carry more pigment than the hat, but they'll make sense of this, and also with the black band together. What do you think about the cardigan below the scarf? A little intense for dark autumn. We see it again in dark winter, where it looks more blended, more even with the clothing. Your eye just goes up and down smoothly the way it would with a palette strip lying on that fabric, or a person wearing it and the other clothes they'd be wearing. Then we have the shoe. We saw that in panel 1, first video. Better here with autumn. It was too heavy for true summer. If you're thinking, well, it's kind of blue for true autumn, but it's too soft for dark autumn, well, you know, welcome to real life shopping decisions. That's okay. I could see it in both. The shoes, and I mean, shoes are small item. They're far from the face, but nobody would think, why would she wear that shoe? but in true summer they might. The t-shirt embroidery is repeated in dark winter. Any preference? Not really. Texture more congruent in autumn, I think. The item might look faded in dark winter, or depending on who's wearing it. But both could work. And then the skirt looks good to me for a dark autumn. And then we move over to dark winter. Blue top, blue blouse at the top. Kind of a jewel tone for dark winter. Other items, the ruffle top, cardigan dress. Good. I don't have that, stone in my shoe, like, I got to think about this. It's just, yeah, okay, fine. And that's what you want people to meet you and concentrate on you and the conversation and the introduction and the other people in the room, not, why would she wear that? Or you looking tired today, or all those other things that can happen. The hat, you can see the skirt at the bottom of dark autumn and the hat at the bottom of dark winter. You see the hat takes a jump of saturation, more pigment in dark winter. Now we're at true winter, teal at the top, in a sweater and then a sleeveless top, blue base, just showing you a similar color in different textiles. And we're going to try the sweater in bright winter as well. It seems good here. Perhaps a little bright for dark winter, although winters are easy with this color and could work fine depending on the person for any of the 3 winters. Blue sweater next, fine. The cami is cool green, and it's softer, and softer in the image here together than it looked to me on its own in your style, which is a clue that it might look a little bit soft or faded for a true winter person, or if you happen to be a little older, if you happen to have silver hair, whatever it may be, it might be one of those colors just past the true summer, true winter boundary that feels very comfortable for you. And then the foil effect bag, awesome. I love that. Could so picture that with black and white. It would be superb. Now we're going to look below the line. Many viewers enjoyed the red comparison in panel 4, the last video. Here, rather than the cool and warm extremes that we saw before, now we're going to look at natural lip colors. These are not at all iconic for the season. I don't really think that exists. Lipstick looks too different on every person within a season. Natural colors are not natural colors. Try picturing the item with each lipstick, and I get it's hard to do. The clothing items are this big and you only have one lipstick in the palette. You get 15 reds or more to work with. I'm thinking less about light to dark, that's a personal choice, but more about brightness, how much pigment, and also how much warmth. If a color turns orange, it's too warm, and if a color turns blue, it may be too cool. In True Autumn, the color is Rio from the 12 Blueprints collection. You'll see it on my website. Now I'm more sure that that second item, the tie front top blouse, it's too bright. It needs to slide over to the left. The scoop neck tee, I'm feeling better here about soft autumn. I can make sense of it with the lipstick. I think the top is a little bit soft for the lipstick, like if you wore the lipstick above the blouse, the lipstick might be more noticeable than you'd want it to be, unless it were very sheer. I mean, it's autumn, they sheer more than they differ. Darker cami at the bottom, yes to being too black for the lipstick. Nothing else jumps out as a problem, I don't think. Dark autumn is Black Honey in the 12 Blueprints collection. I'm trying it with each item. Thinking about the scarf may be better in True Autumn, more present next to the lip color, because you're seeing them like close, right? You can't not see them together. So you think about what would that feel like. Lipstick, you got to try it on. You can never really guess, but we're pretending here. Cardigan, better with dark winter. Lip color here, just it looks too soft. Might be a little brickish in person. But Black Honey too is a very, very sheer color. It's another thing you have to factor in with cosmetics is formulation. But it can work really nicely with the natural lip color of the individual thanks to its sheerness, particularly for colors or seasons that are quite dark. That's a thing in the dark seasons, that so many colors that, yeah, they fit into the season, but they're very, very dark when they're applied. And if they're an opaque or matte formulation, even more so. The dark winter color is like the Body Shop Don't Settle, is what it's called. swatch it on paper. It's too blue for the warmer side of dark autumn. It's too earthy dark for soft summer. Could be a natural lip for many dark winters, especially again with so many very dark choices for lip colors in these seasons. And person like me, a little bit older, light skin tones, light eye colors, a lot of silver in my hair, those very dark colors can become overwhelming or even aggressive. And also if your lips are smaller, lip shape, that's another reason why light colors can be a nice place if they just fit into your season. Now on me, some might call this natural, some might call it invisible, depending on how you define natural lips. But I just want to put lips on a face. So they separate from the canvas of the skin. Not a lover of lips the same color as skin. I just don't find that does anything, especially if you're over 30. And so maybe would some dark winters think this is too soft? Yep. Would they think it's too warm? Yes, they would. And but for a low impact look, if it suits you, it could be great. Urban Decay in the Vice line, Ravenswood, similar color. It could be on the soft summer, dark winter border. So here, back to the main attraction. Lipstick, you start talking about it. The lipstick and clothing colors, I could picture it. I might choose a cooler tone with the blouse at the top, person depending. But the clothing items above, it seems okay. Nothing there that feels uncomfortable or impossible. In true winter, we have this medium dark cool red pink, a variation on a natural lip for many in the season. I wish I had a product to share with you. I don't. There used to be one in the line that 12 Blueprints and also Anna Lazarska's Perfect Mood Board in Poland had a color called Instant Wow. That was like this, but you guessed it, it has been discontinued. So like in dark winter, this could be natural depending on the person. To the point of invisible, I myself maybe prefer a bit of a darker color to define the lips on the face, especially because this person often, not always, has dark eye colors. For blue-eyed people, I think this is absolutely great. It seems especially good with that foil bag at the bottom of True Winter. About lipstick, okay, once you get on the topic, you just can't get off. Being too warm or too cool on a particular face. The color is never only about warmth. We mentioned that. Brightness is also very important in how cosmetics look. Like sometimes you try a color and it turns orange and you think, oh, it must be too warm. But sometimes it turns orange because we're less saturated. Example, spring and autumn, both warm, but a spring lipstick will look candy or yellower on autumn because autumn is less saturated. Their inherent yellow pigments are not as strong or as bright. Same even between dark winter and true winter. Color that could look a neutral pink on a true winter will look peachy or candy on dark winter. And you think, well, how could that be? Dark winter is a warmer season because dark winter is softer. Their yellows, reds, everything not as saturated as in true winter. Another comparison, I think you've mastered this now. Here we want to decide, well, is this dress spring or is it autumn? We looked at comparing with a different color family before. We've seen red a couple of times now. Red's good. It's a natural part of skin tone, and I think a color we are highly sensitive to because it helps us evaluate the health of other people, maybe especially children. Here we're using green, complementary color to red. And the yes-no aspect can be more obvious or less complicated. Yellow, for me, is always a little bit complicated. Green is very straightforward. It is not as much of a go-along to get-along color as, let's say, turquoise. And we're going to up our game because we're now using a print. So there can be many colors. They could be in different seasons. And there are design elements in prints that create activity and distraction. And even when the harmony is good, it can look less settled with your color palette than a single solid color. And so I start with, do I like the print? Am I going to go through this exercise? Is it worth it to me? If I saw someone wearing the dress, yes, I like this dress. I would think that would be a nice thing to see. Okay, so where would it look best? You could see a similar turquoise and brown in True Spring and True Autumn. probably others, but we're trying to just decide between spring and autumn at this point. For complicated colors or with prints, I will back way off, kind of go to the beginning and just see, like a color analysis, if I can get rid of some seasons that are obviously not going to apply, like let's say true winter in this situation. And so in the beginning, we use these broad color categories, just separate the 4 main seasons before we're going to get into the 8 neutral warmth groups. As you can't know if a print is warm or cool or mixed. Colors can be from different seasons. That would not happen in a person. Every color is from the same season. It has the same color properties or dimensions. Well, so what do you think? I choose the autumn side. I hope you would too. And if not, please tell me, and tell me why. The spring hats, light spring above, true spring, bright spring below, it would just be discordant or distracting. It'd be like wearing two parts of 2 outfits together. It would be a definite, why would you wear that hat when you had those autumn ones to choose from? The autumn hats, they enrich the impression. It's easy to imagine a hat, a bag, and shoes. Which earrings you might wear or not wear. The look just builds itself. Autumn is overall darker than spring, but that's not the issue. The issue is spring's brightness that seems distracting. I actually prefer the lower hat in autumn. It's just more belonging, makes a more cohesive picture. Everything's telling the same story. The top hat is dark, and I think it would weigh down the impression, even in a different style. I brought the lower hats nearer to the dress. Sometimes the closer they get, the more sense you have that they're pushing each other apart, like the tension is building, like repelling magnets. It doesn't have to be ideal comparisons. It just has to be colors or versions of the color that the other season would not work with. And of the 4, I like the lower hat in autumn the best. Here we're back to 4, so we're looking at true winter to true spring, with the bright seasons in between. Primarily cool group of colors in true winter. There's no influence from another season, and high brightness in winter. And I find the colors can often seem to, because they only have one influence, colors look like the color wheel versions. Blue looks like blue, and green looks like green, like from a crayon box. You don't have these blended effects, and maybe that's why there's not a lot of teal or turquoise. I really don't know. The lower bathing suit with 2 colors. The upper section looks brighter than the lower section, but the upper section is what you see near the face, so I thought it would be a good fit here. Looking at the other items, all good examples. The cardigan below the line. Real life shopping situation. You're deciding about a color and you think, this should work. Everything about this should work, but it's a little bit too something for my palette. Those powdery pinks that are just a little bit too light for soft summer, but they're very soft. Who else is going to wear them? And also you'll get these very dark colors. We're in a store, we try it on, the fit is perfect, the price is perfect. What are we going to do next? You got to just look at yourself. It seems to me it would be too dark for bright winter, might look blacker than it is, but brights do well with turquoise. They are winters and they do well with darkness, surprisingly so. It's not always the ones that you would think either. And the band around the collar would work very nicely for a bright winter. True winter managed more darkness well. I think it'd look better with the lipstick for true winter than dark winter anyway, which could develop spaghetti sauce tendencies. Overall, I'd probably pick true winter. Next season over is bright winter, brighter and warmer and lighter than true winter. Exaggerated effects like synthetic brightness, the first top, or the very high shine, the shoes, it's really credible extension of the colors themselves. Matte colors and textiles, it always works for everybody. But there's a space here for these modern or costume effects. The blue top below the line that we saw back in panel number 7 with dark winter, I think it's better there. It feels thick or heavy for bright winter. It doesn't reflect light in the same way. We've seen that a couple of times. It's drawing light in where the other items above the line, they reflect light out, including the darker ones. And then we have bright spring over one more to the right. It is warmer, greener, step softer, but you don't really notice that the colors got softer. What you notice is they got warmer, and you notice the group is overall lighter as we move, then bright winter as we move to the right. That wallet at the bottom is great. I had a student this year whose eyes, the eye color was the coppered orange of that logo. It was the most intense coppery golden apple cider color that you could imagine. It was just amazing. So this would be a great example of an item working even better with a person's coloring. Like if you had the orange and the turquoise of the wallet together in a print right near the face, how awesome would that be? The blazer below the line, I think it's an easy fit. It reflects light the same way as the other items. And then we move over one more, True Spring, a color family with many options for blue-green, kind of like purple in True Winter. It goes on and on. Would you have any concerns with the sweater below the line? I wouldn't. It looks to me a lot like the camisole up at the top. In our videos, we always meet up with my personal challenges for whatever color we're looking at. With blue-green, it can be the bright spring to light summer divide, because there's a lot of similar colors in these seasons. So you're shopping, you're pretty sure your item is spring with something, but is it spring with summer or is it spring with winter? We're good at gauging light to darkness, and when we have a comparison like a palette, I usually do that first. If it's outside the light to dark range for the palette, I have a question mark in my mind. I will need more comparisons, let's at least say that, but there may be an easier one. We've talked in other videos about telling seasons apart in the ways they're different. And so putting the two strips with the same, most similar color on the garment, that sometimes can be kind of confusing. And if you think about, well, what are they different? Then the easiest one here is going to be brightness. Bright spring has a lot more pigment for the same colors. And as color pigment is added, grayness, softness is reduced. You see over in spring with summer, the colors are softer. Whereas spring with winter, two groups of high brightness, two parent seasons with high brightness, the items are going to be very bright, however light or dark they are. I think of the light seasons as having sometimes misty or milky qualities. We mentioned opacity with white compared with opacity with gray. That can happen in autumn, which gives that velvety look. Blends with winter are going to be reasonable with black. Like picture the winter sunglasses over in summer. They would bounce right out of that picture. You could see nothing else. And the rings, same effect. You see the flip-flops in summer? And then go across to the puffer jacket on the winter, spring with winter side. Similar color and darkness, but higher brightness, more pigment, less gray, in a light color. And the necklace in summer, green, read across to the emerald sweater in winter, same situation. So the turquoise sweater from panel 6, where we laid the true summer and light summer items right on the sweater. Neither one seemed bright enough. They were just being swallowed up by the color of the sweater. What do you think here? I think it feels okay. Socks, maybe it's an autumn color, but it shares enough to work here. We all need cold and warm weather options, and the viewer understands the effect and the purpose of the textile. I would actually be impressed that they work so well, like intentional socks. Then the coat, well, is even better. Great color buttons for True Spring, and it's a natural material. The buttons are excellent. Anytime we're trying to answer a question or solve a problem, we may not get there on the first attempt or comparison. That's okay. What we need are steps and strategies for what do I do next? What is the most logical, constructive thing that I can do to get information that I can trust? And having a series of those to reach for is powerful and calming and leads to better outcomes and a closet that looks better and better with every item that you add to it. Thanks for being here. We'll see each other in the next video.